Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, Democrats were actually damn good. And you have to go back, turn back the clock quite a ways to really see when the best Democrats were around. One of the people that you could probably say is high up on the list as a Democrat would be Grover Cleveland. Not just because he appears on a $100 bill and people like $100 bills, but actually he was a true, obviously he had his critics of the day, obviously, but the deal is he is rated as one of the top 10 presidents, generally speaking. And there's a couple of people in that top 10 I probably would disagree with, one name being Abraham Lincoln. But Grover Cleveland also is a Democrat that was somebody who was the only one who was elected to 2 terms to office, but they weren't consecutive terms. Now, one of the problems he had was he inherited the Great Depression. And if you really want to really change the political landscape of a country, have an economic calamity. And I kind of fear for the future for that, because that may be what's coming up. Now, I'm going to say one of the last time we really had a good Democrat president was JFK. He's flawed in some ways. I know personally, like the women and all that type of stuff. We know that. But he was an honorable man. But, even so, even after JFK, you take somebody what I would consider back in the day, in 1968, George McGovern, who would be considered an ultra-liberal. Today, he looks like a saint compared to most of the Democrats they got today. The nation has changed, and part of the reason is due to mass brainwashing. I could just state that right off the bat. But the Kennedy brothers were, honestly, and I know you got Ted Kennedy there too, but Bobby Kennedy and JFK were excellent examples of what a Democrat should be. But today, Democrats aren't like that. Now, one thing I have a problem with, it's kind of weird that when you're looking at the political map, they chose red and blue, for the colors of the 2 parties. And some moron in New York City, I don't know who it was one in the papers, chose red for the Republicans because they both start with the letter R. And typically, now I don't really consider the true Democratic Party before it went communistic would represent the color blue. Blue is supposed to be for like individual rights, conservatism, and not conservatism like being a myopic person that tells everybody what to do, but conservative being that less government. In other words, people just take responsibility for themselves, and individual communities and individual organizations take responsibility for helping others. If you delegate that to the government and you want to have a big umbrella over you, you will actually have your rights taken away from you in subtle ways. So it's a danger. It's like it sounds good, but it's almost like saying let's vote everybody into being wealthy. Let's make a vote and have everybody get $100,000. Well, $100,000 ain't gonna be worth nothing. So that's the deal behind having government as a big umbrella. I'm not against the concept of helping other people, of course, but it's a matter of, if you're going to help people, do it. Don't just try to vote for it, sit and click a button or some garbage and say, I help people by clicking a button. Get out there and roll up your sleeves. That's not the government's not going to do that. So, but McGovern was, heads and shoulders above the average Democrat of today. And pretty much everybody who's a politician back in the day was heads and shoulders whoever's out there today. But I'm going to highlight one Democrat from Florida, Walkin' Lawton. And you probably heard of him, maybe you haven't heard of him. And this is back when Florida really was Democratic. But I just want to emphasize that the color of red for Republican, the Conservative Party throughout the world is usually represented by blue. It's like the party of law, less government. And red is usually like the social progressives, which you would think is the Democrats. So some idiot in some New York City big newspaper back in 2000 started setting this trend. And I personally don't like it. But then again, I wish that the Democratic Party would go back to the way it was during the time of Grover Cleveland. Then the blue would make sense. See? Now let me get on with a little bit with Florida because I know this election was a pretty tight race, and I can tell you one thing: I was very glad that Gillum lost, but I would not. I would really. I don't know what's going on in Georgia right now with Stacey Abrams, but God, if she ever got into the office, oh God, that one would just Gillum is like 1,000 times better than Stacey Abrams. Man, that one is really off the charts someplace, man. That one's bad news. She can't even balance her checkbook, for crying out loud. And I don't want to get into all the detail on her, but that one is about as corrupt as Rick Scott, but not smart as Rick Scott. Stacey Abrams. But anyway, this is on Walking Lawton. Chili's. He did a 1,003-mile walk from Pensacola, Florida, all the way down to the Keys. That was part of his campaign. So back in 1970, Chili's, this is a Democrat, right? And this was a good old boy guy, hey, a cracker like Gillum calls him, man. But he's a good old cracker, man. Chili's decided to run for the seat in the United States Senate, right? At the time, despite his 12 years in the state legislature, he was largely unknown outside of Lakeland-based district. So to generate some media coverage, he decided to do 1,003-mile, 91-day walk across Florida from Pensacola to Key West. The walk earned him the recognition. He saw it, called him Walking Lawton. So, Chili's versus Kramer, So, the thing is, what's cool about this, he saw the whole state. He walked, he was talking with people when he was walking, and he was like, people love this. People love this. He sure didn't put himself on a pedestal. And the other thing is, this is kind of funny because I know this was back in 1970, and money back in 1970 was like, if you had $300,000, it'd probably be like $3 million. But self-made Kramer, who was his opponent, depicted Chili's as coming from a silver spoon background with a net worth of $300,000, which probably be like $3 million or $2 million today or something. But compared to Rick Scott, Chili's was a pauper. I don't like Rick Scott. I had to vote for him because I just do of the issues with Bill Nelson, but everything the Democrats said about Rick Scott. I mean, all these people are screwed up, man, and most of them are. Actually, this new governor, Ron DeSantis, is going to be, not perfect, but I think he's going to be way better than any of the Republicans we had in the last freaking 20 years. From Jeb Bush to Rick Scott, who was horrible. Both of them are bad news. I think Ron DeSantis was going to be good to go. I don't know how long he's going to make it again, but whatever. But talking about the Democrats here, this is the old Democrats. The old Democrats were good to go. Chili's like, I mean, not everything was perfect about him, but, he was a guy that got out there. And, the Tallahassee Democrat forecast correctly that Chili's weary feet and comfortable hiking boots would carry the 40-year-old slow country lawyer, country lawyer with boyish amiability and a backcountry common sense and methodical urban political savvy to victory. So Chili had this Huck Finn image that was contrasted one night in Miami when he held a fried chicken picnic while the Republicans showcased a black tie, $1,000 plate dinner. So that's how you appeal to people, man. You get right down there in with the people, right? I guess today you couldn't do that because somebody maybe do something to you, You'd be walking down the street in a drive-by or something, Who the hell knows? I don't know. But people, well, that's another thing. That's one of the other problems I should mention here. One of the real problems we got with our nation. As they take religion out of school, I mean, I'm not talking formal religion, but like the Ten Commandments and discipline, what's right and wrong, and a moral code, and they just relegate this moral code to some wackos in Hollywood, New York City that run newspapers. Well, you know what happens. Everything just becomes more unsafe in society. I mean, I remember going hunting and stuff, and there'd be strangers out in the woods with guns, and they'd be hunting. I wasn't afraid of something happening to me because, you know what I mean? We're all hunting, right? You know what I mean? It was like, it was just, nobody would even, well, it's like this. I mean, you walk in a restaurant and you go to, everybody's getting steak and they got steak knives. Nobody's in fear that they're going to jump up and start, you know what I mean? If they're going to jump up and start having a steak knife fight or something. It's like, Why is that? You see, today, I mean, it's almost like the most ridiculous things happen today. And that part of it is because they're taking the moral code out of everything, especially in the education system. So you couldn't even have this today where, a politician plays like Huck Finn, walks out there with his, little backpack and his hiking boots and walks across the state of Florida. You'd have to have like armed guards with limo around him or something in case, to wear a bulletproof vest. That today, I mean, it just couldn't happen. So Chili's advertisement urged the voters, vote for yourself. See that? Chili's walked their streets and highways to hear what you have to say. This is all from Wikipedia, so I'm just giving you, the toned down version here. But it's the real version. It's giving you information without being a little too extreme one way or the other. So Chili's walked our streets and highways to hear what you have to say. That's why a vote for Chili's is like a vote for yourself. Guys, this was slick, man. With shoe leather and a shoestring budget. Wow. Chili's presented himself as a problem solver who doesn't automatically vote no on every issue. See that? See how this guy is? This was the old style Democrats. The new ones are a bunch of socialists grabbing as much money as they can from Soros. And actually, oh man, I'm sick of this garbage. Or any other billionaire out there who pays their way. I could never get that turned around, he said. I said, he goes, demanded more debates and rebuffed a walking tactic. He goes, Kramer, his opponent, was saying Chili's was walking and I was running for office. But the press was enamored with the Chili's walk across the state of Florida. Every time he was asked a question about where he stood, he would quote somebody that he met on the campaign trail to state what he was to do when he got to the Senate, consistent with what the constituent had said. The basic approach gave him more credibility to his walk, which had nothing to do with his qualifications for Senate, but gave him free publicity and appeal to the little guys. Like I would have loved this stuff. I mean, I would have loved it too. So this guy, this is the old Democrat. Here he is, Senator Lawton Chili's, and then he became governor. So he was elected twice to the Senate, 76 to 82, both heavy Democratic years. These are back when the old Southern Democrats were around, man. In 1985, Chili's underwent quadruple bypass surgery. Actually, I want to tell you something about medical in here. After his recovery, he became increasingly frustrated with the slow pace of work in the Senate, complaining it was too difficult to get anything done. You're right. It's politics, a waste of damn. That's why we don't need politicians. We just get rid of them, man. We don't need that much government. He's hence announced in December '87 that he would not seek re-election. So then that's when the Republican Connie Mack got in. I'm not. You know what? When these politicians get in office, I don't worship them. I mean, I don't. This guy Ron DeSantis. I mean, well, he's going to be like a step up from anybody we had better than in decades. I'll say that. But I don't worship him as my leader. He's there to serve the people. Okay, that's what he's there for. Doing the right job. So after the surgery, he had this surgery with quadruple bypass. Chili's developed clinical depression and was treated with Prozac. So this I read into. This is what knocked this guy down. I'm so pissed off at doctors in general because I don't know if they know what they're doing or maybe they're just making money selling these things. Don't take Prozac. And he probably was complaining about the surgery and the crap that was going on in Washington, D.C., and so somebody diagnosed him with depression. Well, you know what? Prozac ain't the answer. You go to the Florida beach or get yourself a fishing pole, go out there on a lake, do something. Don't take that crazy stuff. And actually, I think that helped knock his health down. He should have just kept walking. However, several supporters convinced him to enter the 1990 Florida governor race against Republican Bob Martinez. During the Democratic primary, his opponent, Bill Nelson, remember him? The guy that just lost to the crooked Rick Scott. I mean, I don't like either one of them, and I don't care if Bill Nelson was an astronaut. I don't really give a damn. God. Freaking, I was an astronaut, like me. And whatever. I'll tell you what I really respect later, who's a really gator wrestler. His opponent, Bill Nelson, attempted to make an issue of Chili's age and health. which backfired in a state with a large population of retirees. Yeah, it's like telling the people, they're too old to do anything. You got a state full of old people. They're listening to you, Bill. That really was a backfire. So Chili's ran for election in 1994 against Jeb Bush and defeated Bush. Good. I don't, this Chili's guy was probably cool, As of 2017, his victory remains the last. Actually, as of 2018, his victory remains the last by a Democratic candidate. So the last time they had a Democrat, well, you know what? I'm going to tell you this. I agree with the Democrats that Jeb Bush and Rick Scott are really screwed up. Trouble is, the ones the Democrats were putting up against them were no Chili's, Walking Lawton. There were no Chili's Lawton, Walking Lawton. There were no JFK. There weren't a Bobby Kennedy. There certainly weren't a Grover Cleveland. They're putting communists up against the Republicans. So I don't vote communist. So I hold my nose and I vote Republican. But actually, I think this guy DeSantis is a good old guy. He's a good old cracker with Italian flavor. So what the hell he is, I guess. I don't know. Gillum called him. Whatever. It wasn't Gillum. It was one of his So here's his. Gillum didn't say that. It was one of his campaign guys. But I don't really give a crap. I mean, actually, there's publications on the web. They're cracker public newsletter. People are crackers. They're proud to be crackers. I don't know what the hell it means exactly. I forgot where that word came from. It's not actually derogatory. Somebody might say it is, but it's not. I mean, because the crackers in Florida refer to themselves as crackers, man. I mean, it's not like it's a bad thing. But here's Walking Lawton, walking down the street. This is a real politician, man. This guy was good to go. He's wearing his tie. He's got his notebook with him. He's got his wristwatch, his heart pacemaker, whatever. Now, this is who I would vote for. You see these guys here? These are the real politicians. And if we ever have to issue new money, like say there's an economic collapse in the United States, like usually that's what changes all the political landscape of everything. The Great Panic of 1873, the Depression in the 1930s. Oh, they had another one in the 1890s, Grover Cleveland's term. That's when everything starts changing. They look for solutions and they're grabbing at straws. Well, in Florida, if we ever have a problem again, actually even happened during one of Walking Lawton's terms too. What we do is we issue, instead of issuing greenbacks, we issue gatorbacks as money. We take gator lizard skin and we print the Florida state seal on it. And we put a number on it, and that'll be the money. It'll be issued by the state, and we'll have our own state-issued currency, gatorbacks. And these will be our politicians right here. And actually, if you look at that back in the time, if you can't walk like Walking Lawton did, this is way back in the time too. This is an ostrich-pulled cart. The Florida Ostrich, whatever the hell it is, Jacksonville, Florida. And you got this. So if you're a politician, you figure I ain't gonna walk over 1,000 miles like Walking Lawton. And this goes for Republicans or Democrats. You get yourself a cart and you put an ostrich in front of it, and this way you don't have to walk. But then you're going all the way Florida, because this is how they used to get around way back in the day. They used to get an ostrich, put it in front of the cart, and there you go. Giddy up. You didn't have to have a mule. You just have an ostrich. These things are pretty quick, too, man. I'll tell you that right now. See them long legs? It's like one of them road runners in a coyote. The road runner? Except it's bigger. It's a bigger bird with longer legs. That thing can get some stride. So anyway, if things keep going the way the hell we got going here, I'm going to tell you right now, this is why I'll be getting the hell out of boogieing out of the state of Florida probably eventually. I got my property up in Tennessee. Remember when Putin had this? Putin appears to show Florida being nuked by his invincible missile demonstration. This was, remember? And I know Trump was like going, hey, don't shoot. And Putin says, that's not Florida. That can't be. I'm looking at this thing. Tampa Bay. Here's Lake Okeechobee over here. I mean, here's, the islands off on the East Coast. I mean, it's freaking Florida, man. Putin's like, that can't be freaking Florida. Get the hell out of here. But you know what? Eventually, God's wrath is going to come back on us for all the corruption that's going on, because the political system and idiots that we elect are elected by idiots. You see? It's like we get the government we vote in. And to be quite honest, you could vote yourself into a mess, but you can't vote yourself out of a mess. What happens is, if you vote yourself into a mess, you're going to have to roll up your sleeves just like Walking Lawn did here and get out there and walk your way out of it, or alligator your way out of it like the other guys did, or whatever. Or maybe we're just going to get punished by, indirectly by, karma, God, or whatever you want to call it. Call it karma. But, I always see, I got extreme foreboding about living in, you know what? That's one of the main reasons I think I will get out of Florida eventually, because I think this is one of the least survivable states going for if we ever get into a major international calamity. I'll be up in the hills of Tennessee, northeast Tennessee, on my 1,500-foot mountain with my stream. Actually, deep in red territory, which should be actually colored blue. But anyway, but again, if you go back to the old Democratic Party, blue would make sense. The party of Grover Cleveland, So, the party of the Kennedy brothers. I mean, Ted Kennedy turned into something else later on, but Bobby Kennedy and JFK were 100% legit. Those were good Democrats. But ever since then, that's when the downward slide happened. But even when the downward slide was happening, I could tell you, George McGovern was light years better than any Democrat I see today. Oh, it's like, but I really don't like the Republicans. I really don't. I mean, it's like I only vote for them because the Democrats are blatantly communistic. I mean, they're not. I mean, I don't want to just use the word and just say, that's a bad word and that's what they are. But they really are about total control of the population, total redistribution of wealth, and you can't. Even the age of the robber barons, like in 1880s and 1870s and all that, a lot of it occurred because of Union and One, which was, the Republican Party, to be quite honest, is the party of big freaking business. They always have been. I mean, I'm not a fan of that part of it, but they're the only party that actually does a slight amount to protecting individual rights or paying true adherence to the Bill of Rights. The Democrats, pretty much, for the most part, like Nancy Pelosi, God, Speaker of the House. Oh, that's going to be fun watching that. But anyway, back in the day when Grover Cleveland was, and Grover Cleveland, believe it or not, was from Caldwell, New Jersey. I guess back when New Jersey was a little bit different when it was today, that's for sure. Back in the 1800s. Today, New Jersey's really pretty bad. But not every, well, I wouldn't want to live there. But I'd say that's, I'm from up there originally. But I escaped. Fortunately, all those people from New Jersey and New York, they keep following me down here to Florida, even in the north central Dixieland, exact middle of the state, more towards the north, where, man, when I got here, this was like the country more, well, not total country, but it was more or less. I mean, there was like 10 miles of open fields behind me, and I was on a dirt road. And if you went down one block, you needed a four-wheel drive to go around some of them back. Now it's all paved. So, but which is Ron DeSantis in office, Republican or whatever the hell he is. He's a man of honor. So, not 100% perfect, but I would think, 100 times better than what the other Republicans were from before. So, anyway. But there's a difference between old school and new school. And you know what? This applies to the Marine Corps too. Today I don't want to, anybody here, thank you for your service stuff, because I don't even know what the heck, when you join this military today, what service anybody even provides, because, the whole military is owned by corporate interest and political interest, and everybody, the higher up they are, the more subservient they are to whoever gets elected with the big money, right? Honor, integrity, truth, and whatever, trustworthiness. None of that stuff is really applying when you sell out to a corrupt politician. You put your loyalty to a corrupt politician. So I don't really I don't even care about the Marine Corps today. I mean, the old breed and the new breed, totally different. Maybe they're going to fight the war just as hard, but the whole underlying purpose to everything today has been corrupted, far more so than it has been in the past. And if you look at the birth of this nation, I just want to say this: there's only been a small window of time when the nation really had limited government, and that was from when we had the Treaty of Paris. You know, nation was, I know 1776 was we declared independence, but I think it was 1873 when we had the 1883 when we had the Treaty of Paris, and the nation was officially independent, right? But once the war between the states, the South lost. The South was all about limited government. Don't buy that slavery garbage, man. That is a con job in hell from the North. But the South, once the South lost, that was the beginning of the end of what the concept of true freedom was in this country. And since that time, there's been a downward slope all the way where we have more and more control over every aspect of our life. You go to New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey, right? That place has total control of your life. It's like you rent your property from the government. The real estate taxes are so high, it's ridiculous. So, you know, I want to emphasize that because people don't quite get, you know, after the war between the states, we've actually went more and more imperialistic. But the South has always resisted far better, you know, these trends. That's why the South has always been under attack by the big money powers from the up north. But back in the day, the old Southern Democrats, they were good to go. Walker Lawton was a good guy, man. He was good. Well, not everything was perfect about any politician, but this guy was like, you know, he's in there right with the people, you know. He wasn't, you know, he's a regular Joe, like one of these guys over here hunting gators or something. So, you know, that's the kind of way I come from. And I personally hate politics. I could probably win an election. Well, you know what? I wouldn't win the election because I'd piss off the billionaire guy that freaking gave me the money. Hey George, thanks for the campaign contributions. Thanks for that $1 million. I just put up 1,000 Confederate flags. He'd be like, ooh! I figured I'd put my, you know, put the flag up there, you know. And I mentioned your name, donated by George Soros, on the bottom of the poll, okay? See, that's why I wouldn't make it in politics. But I'd probably be riding this ostrich buggy. That'd be pretty cool. You know? I never thought of this, man. It's even smarter than a horse. I wonder how fast it goes. But that thing, I mean, it's like a roadrunner bird with real long legs. I bet you that thing gets up and books. One ostrich power. So, but you know, that's what you got to do before it's too late. Because I think, you know, I don't like Putin showed Florida doing this, but I was like, boy, that's another reason. I know, like Joel Skosin says, this is like the worst state to be in if everything happens bad, you know. And I agree. So long term, I am getting the hell out of here, man. I'm just not in a hurry to do it right now because I think the world is safe for a couple more years. But if we ever went back to the true Democrats and it became a contest between the current style of Republicans that we got today and Democrats like JFK and Bobby Kennedy, or the modern ones, I mean, they weren't perfect, but they were really... After JFK was killed, I mean, that's the whole Democratic Party it just went to communist. LBJ was garbage. It just got worse and worse. And that's when the South started flipping to Republican. Not that they like the Republicans, it's just that, you know, what are you going to do? You got no choice, right? That's where I am at, too. I mean, I don't really like the Republicans. I don't really like them. But just that, I noticed, you know, the Democrats are like, I mean, they're just as communistic as Stalin is, for crying out loud. They really are. It's bad news, man. And a lot of people think communism's good. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Not at all. And the only way we can actually have, good communities and peace in our cities, in our towns, is to go back to a moral code. Not a moral code taught by the major media out of New York City and Hollywood, but the old moral code. It could be the Bible, the Torah, going back to the tenets of what society's been built upon from day one. That's when you're going to be able to walk into Central Park in the middle of the night and not worry about anything. That used to be the case back in the 1930s. They didn't even have gun control back in 1932, or they didn't even have, I think one of the strongest weapons law was the National Firearms Act, I think in 1934, that stopped the machine guns and stuff like that, and the bombs or whatever. I forgot what the hell it covers. But before that, couple years before that, you could buy anything you want from a mail order catalog, and they didn't have problems. You could walk around in New York City. You could walk around in Central Park on a weekend, no problem. You can't do that at night. You can't do that today. And why is that? That's because, they took, not everybody was a freaking saint back then, obviously, but a lot of things that are, people are being conditioned today with evil things from Hollywood. Really are. So that's so until you go back to the old moral code, nothing's going to get fixed. It's not going to get fixed by a politician, no matter how good they are. You got to actually make the people. Our morals have been whittled away piece by piece imperceptibly over many, many years. But if you look back at how people were and what they are today, it's light years different. And actually, from today to the 1930s is a huge, not just from today to the 50s, but even to the 1930s. But then if you go back to the 1850s, the moral code was even more strict. So, people don't realize, that's really what the problem is. We've lost our moral bearing. And, I kind of go along with, somehow that's going to punish us. That's going to, not necessarily being right from the Bible, but somehow the karma is going to come around, if you want to call it karma, come around, and it's going to bite us in the long run for just losing our moral compass. And I think Florida's lost a lot of its moral compass over the years. And, this picture that Putin showed one time here, less than a year ago, that's pretty scary. He says, that's not Florida. Yeah, it's Florida, damn it. Yeah. Well, Florida would be a #1 target because we all are military bases and it's flat and it's highly populated. So, I won't be around here. I'll tell you that. I'll be up there in the mountains, man, up there in Tennessee. But in the meantime, I think we're good to go for at least a couple years, at least. So, but once I think the communists get in power, otherwise known as the modern day Democrats, that's when you're going to see things go off into a tailspin, and God's going to punish us. Hopefully not me. Anyway, over that.